Hey everybody, welcome to Sid's Little Corner of the Internet. We've got another Transformers review coming your way. This time around we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Rise of the Beasts Voyager-Class Rhinox. Now this is not the Studio Series Rhinox, he doesn't come with his big warhammer. This is, I guess, kind of a middle-of-the-line kind of release. It reminds me a lot of the Premiere Series figures that we got for those Bayverse movies. But let's go ahead and take a look at that packaging real quick. And you can see you've got all your glyphs right there in your big gaping hole. You've got your maximal symbol up there. There's Rhinox looking nothing like he does in the movie. And there's the name, Rhinox Transformers Rise of the Beast, Transformers up the side. There's another picture of this Rhinox Voyager class. On the back, you've got some product shots. He converts at 21 steps. You've got your warnings down here. You have the sad baby. The baby's sad because this is not the Studio Series Rhinox. There's your maximal symbol. There's a little bit more of Rhinox. There's the rest of him right there. And then up top, you have Transformers Rise of the Beast. Down low, you have that information if you care to read it. So now that we've taken care of all the box situation, let's go ahead and get that out of the way and see everything that came with Rhinox. Behold, laid out here before you is everything that came with Rhinox, and we're going to start right over here with a little sheet of warnings. And over here is your instruction booklet, and that leaves you with the 3 accessories that we see here. I'm going to start right here in the middle. This is, yes, it's his horn, and yes, it is removable. And you can put it on his shoulder or put it on his head, whichever you want to do. I'm definitely getting some Mandalorian vibes from this, but I do think it looks pretty good. I like the paint, and I like the detail in there. That sculpt work looks pretty good. Kind of gives it that natural look. So it is just brown molded plastic with nice paint. Kind of a copper paint, I guess, would be what you'd call it. But yeah, it looks pretty good. I do like it. I like the fact that it comes off and you can put it on his shoulder. So, hey, cool. All right, and then you have his 2 spinning wheels of murder, I guess, whatever you want to call them. He does not come with the Warhammer that we see in the Rise of the Beast movie. As I stated earlier, I have a sneaking suspicion that this is not the Rise of the Beast mold or even close to it. This is more Kingdom mold, if you will, for Rhinox. So take that for what it is. Not awful, but anyway, let's go ahead and talk about those accessories. So you do have those nice silver and then the green right here on the blades, and they do spin, so you know, it's kind of cool, you know. And then back here you've got some good detail, not any paint. It's kind of cool. You've got the kind of so these are the Gatling guns, right? So you have that Gatling gun setup. So there's your area where it'll cool, disperse the heat, and then of course there's your chain with your cartridges in it. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Now these are identical, nothing different between the two. So they do just go on his hands, so you can plug them in his hands right there, or you can plug them on the ports on his shoulders using either one of these. So a little bit of diversity there, but very similar to what we saw with Kingdom Rhinox. So that is it as far as accessories go. So let's go ahead and bring this Rhinox in and take a look at what he has to offer. Here he is, the Rhinox that we didn't even know we were waiting for. This is that not quite Studio Series Rise of the Beast Rhinox. So let's bring him in and take a look at that detail, and we'll start with that head. And you know what, before I do, I'm just going to say something real quick. I think we all know that this is not what the Rise of the Beast Rhinox is going to look like. This, to me, is maybe a heavily retooled Kingdom Rhinox. Transformation is super similar, not exactly the same. But he's got a lot closer relation to Kingdom Rhinox than Rise of the Beast Rhinox. I'm not going to beat him up for that. Obviously, this is a cash grab by Hasbro and Takara. They want to get as much money as they can. So, here it is. I'm not going to knock him for not looking like the movie Rhinox. I am going to just try to admire him for what he is. That being said, let's bring him back in. So, starting with that head, for what he is, I think it looks pretty good. He seems like he's very sad or angry, or maybe a little bit of both. He is a very angry character in the movie, so I'll give him that. Paint looks good. He's got little green eyes in there. And coming over to the chest, looks very powerful, very robust. Nice hints of silver right there in the ab area. And coming on down to the legs. Big, meaty legs, very heavily armored. I do like what they've done here, like with this spring, kind of that mechanical look right there with the silver. I think that looks pretty good. And then you've got the Rhino skin, kind of that texture on there. Now he does have some hollow areas in the front, in the back, around the sides, just all over his person. They're not awful. I think they do a pretty good job of hiding them. If you look on the inside here, you've just got the Rhino, back of the Rhino butt, if you will, kind of tucked away. And then you've got kind of those louvers back there, so it's not bad. And then taking a look at those feet and looking up underneath, you do have some ports right there if you want to use them for blast effects or whatever. I'm not going to spend too much time, or if any, in the review on that, but they are available to you if you want to use them. And let's take a look at him from the side first. I think he cleans up pretty good. He does have a big rhinoceros head hanging off his back, but considering how bulky he is everywhere else, this just kind of fits. You know, he almost looks svelte, in my opinion, for what he is. All right, so lift that arm up out of the way, and we'll look at those feet and those legs on the outside. Fairly unremarkable here. There is some good ingenuity here as far as the transformation. I do like parts of it, so take that for what it is. You've got the texturing right there, some nice mechanical elements. This mechanism here, the way that all this transforms right here, does a good job of hiding the interior of his chest, so I do admire that. You can get a little peek of that Rhino face right there. Then you look up underneath the arms, and then this is where the money saving comes in. So there is a lot of hollow under here. To be fair, these two main hollow areas, you have this piece right here that's going to fill this void when he's in Rhino mode, and then you have this area right here that's going to be filled in by his fist when he's in Rhino mode. Just would have been nice to have some panels or something. I don't know. But you do have mechanical detail in there if you look close enough. So, you know, at least there's something to look at once you're way up in there. Just cost saving for these two areas right here. That's pretty obvious. They just add some ribs right there. Looking at the fronts of the arms, I think they look pretty good. Nice broad shoulders. And then you've got this mechanical detail down here, all in silver. I like the outside very much. You've got a port right there, and then you've got some chains, because why not? You know? And then you've got that nice copper, the same color as the horn right there. And then taking a look at him just right from the back. He's bulky. He's not awful, but yeah, he's prettier from the front for sure. So let's take a look at that. Obviously, this is where that horn would go, and you can see the horn's just going to plug in. You've got a port there. You've got a slot there. Some Rhino horns. Coming around to the back, you can see where the little Rhino feet fold up. Mechanical detail in there to, I don't know, keep you from getting bored, I suppose. So, yeah, he is not awful. As far as Voyager-class figures go, he looks nothing like the movie. Fine. In his own right, he's still a pretty cool, bulky kind of Rhinox. So, all that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the articulation. And we'll start up here at the head. There's not a lot to talk about. It's not on a ball joint. The only thing you're going to do is rotate this 360 degrees if you want to go all the way around. You're not going to get any up, not going to get any down, not going to get any side to side. It's just fixed in place. So he's going to give you a dead stare straight ahead. So that's all you got. Or, well, not straight ahead. He's just going to give you a dead flat stare on a 360 degree axis. All right, coming over here to the shoulders. At least the shoulders have a lot more range of motion, so you can get the shoulders way up there. He can almost do the Staying Alive Saturday Night Fever thing if you wanted to, or Say Anything. Maybe that's more Say Anything. Anyway, so you can go up that high. You can go all the way around with that shoulder. Down here at the bicep, you can get just a tick over 90, and then all the way around as far as the bicep rotation goes. The only thing you get at the wrist is just swinging that wrist in for transformation, so you can swing it in that far, swing it out that far. Now you have waist rotation. You just be aware of your Rhino neck as you're moving him around. So you do get a pretty good range of motion before you start running into stuff, so no major complaints there. Coming down to the legs. So starting with rotation first, you don't have thigh rotation. Your rotation is right above the knee, but you can go all the way around with that if you need to. And kicking forward, we're going to save the best for last. So kicking forward, you can get about that far before he starts running into his chest. So if you swing that leg out a little bit, you can get a little bit more. Same thing with kicking back. So kicking back, he's going to go about that far before he runs into his neck. If you swing that leg out, you can get him a little bit further. Okay? Speaking of swinging those legs out, here is the, just like Vanessa Williams said, we're going to save the best for last. Look at this. Oh, yeah. Look at that. He is amazing. Look at the flexibility on the big guy. He's got super splits. That is a Rhinox Van Damme if I've ever seen it. All right. Now, coming down to the feet. We come off the high of the hips, and we'll get to the mediocrity of the feet. So you're not really going to get anything going back on the feet. Going forward, you can get a couple of degrees. You do have toe, the ability to move that toe down that far, and if you do that, you can get a few more degrees out of that foot. Do with it what you will. And then as far as ankle tilt goes, you get a few degrees in for the ankle tilt. So the ankle tilt absolutely does not match the spread you can get at the hips, but still pretty good. My biggest complaint is just that fixed head. Everything else I can pretty much work around, and we can get some pretty good poses out of this guy. But he's just going to look level. He's not looking up, he's not looking down, he's not looking quizzical. He's just level. So that is it for the details and the articulation. Let's go ahead and just jump into the accessories and talk about those. There's not a whole lot to cover here, so let's just cover it now, and we will start with the horn. So what you can do with the horn, I guess if you really wanted him to, he could hold his own horn, you know, so you can do that if that gets you happy. But per the instructions, what you're supposed to do in this mode is plug it into either shoulder, and then he's got a kind of a nice ramming battering device on his shoulder that you could use. So that's up to you, or you could just leave it back here and plug it into his Rhino head, which is what I'm going to do forevermore. So throughout the rest of this review, it's just going to be right there. All right, and moving on to his spinning Gatling wheels of murder. A couple things you can do with these. You can take them and plug them in. You've got ports on the shoulder, so you can plug them in right there if you want to do that. Let's go ahead and plug that one in too. So you can have that kind of a setup. I've got him all crooked. There we go. So you can have that kind of a setup if you want to. You could turn them this way and, hey, look, they're little helicopters. I don't know. You do something like that if you want. Otherwise, these do fit quite nicely over his fists, almost like they were designed that way. So you can just take them and plug them in. And then he's got that really cool Gatling gun spinning death wheel kind of look going. So there you go. Plug them in. And then go ahead, make his day. You know, one of those things. It's Clint Eastwood, not Rhinox, but hey, neither here nor there. It's the line I wanted to give him. So that's it for accessories. You really, where are you going? You really can't do much else with the guy. You do have a port back here if you want to use a flight stand. But flying rhinos? Never heard of them. So anyway, now that we've got details, articulation, and the accessories out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the transformation and get this guy into his beast mode. So the first thing that we're going to do to get Rhinox into his beast mode is we're just going to take these hands right here and we're going to flip that hand in just like that. And then we're going to take this forearm and we're going to rotate that 90 degrees, and that essentially makes the Rhino arm. So once you've done that, go ahead and lift that Rhino arm up out of your way. Now, you've got this little piece right here, this little assembly right here that we're going to need to rotate. But before we rotate that, let's go ahead and get the neck piece out of the way. So just reach up under here, straighten that out, and then pull this piece out, and then give that a click. And you get that neck piece out of the way, and then you can just go ahead and pull that sitting on a double hinge so you got all kinds of clearance. All right, so what I found for me the easiest way to make this rotate is if I just take the arm and I rotate the arm down about like this, and then you can see that joint right there. And then I'm just going to push on the shoulder. So what that's going to do is it's actually going to give me the ability to rotate that piece right there. And it gives me just a little bit of extra leverage instead of trying to get my fingers up there. So once you've gotten this piece where it'll rotate, and I really hope it's coming through on camera. So let me move that out of the way. Once you've gotten this piece so it'll rotate, you're going to bring it all the way around until you feel a click. And there's actually right up in here, there's going to be a little spot that's going to be kind of a hard stop. So just rotate that until you get that click right there. And then you've got that locked into place. And then just bring this arm down, and it's going to be a soft lock right here on this. So you're just going to push that in. It's just going to be a kind of a soft stop right there. So making my way over to the right hand side while I'm here, I'm just going to rotate that head 180 degrees. This is not a critical point. It just makes it easier to blend with the bottom of the rhinoceros mouth, throat area. All right, so coming over here to this one, I'm going to straighten that arm out. Then I'm going to rotate that fist in, rotate this 90 degrees, and then I'm going to use the leverage from this arm right here, and I'm going to give that a push. That's going to allow me to rotate that around until I hit that soft or that hard stop. Feel that click right there. Rotate that back around and bring that arm down and kind of get that soft lock right there. All right. So once I'm here, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to bring the head down and just give that a push, and everything kind of squeezes in together right there, and you've got the front of the Rhino done. So to get to the back of the Rhino, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take that waist and rotate that waist 180 degrees. I'm going to bring these legs out away from each other a little bit, and then I'm going to rotate 180 just above that knee. I'm going to do that on both sides. And then what you're going to do with these legs is you have these panels right here in the front. You're just going to open those up, swing those out. Then that's going to expose this area right here. Come around to the back side here, and then you have, this is the little Rhino foot, and then this is the Rhino butt. So you're just going to disconnect that, bring that forward, and then you're going to compress this foot up in here. So take that toe, bring that toe down so it's shaped about like that. And then you're going to just tuck that foot away, and while you're tucking that foot away, you're going to pull this foot out, so that way you've got clearance. And then you've got a double hinge set up right here, so you're going to set this up at a 90-degree angle. So you're going to raise this double hinge up and swing this down and around, and you should have something that looks like that. So those two radii right there should correspond with one another. All right, so once you do that, I'm going to leave this open for now. I'm going to come over here to this side. I'm going to open this panel up. I'm going to pull this back side. I'm going to compress that toe, swing that down. Make sure you pull this foot out. That's on a nice tight tab. And then on that double hinge, swing that up. And then you've got those two radii touching right there. And now I'm going to take these and I'm going to tab them together. So you've got a tab and a slot, and a tab and a slot, and a tab and a slot. So you're just going to line all those up, give them a squeeze. There we go. Squeeze all that together, and then you have all that assembled and ready to go. So next thing we're going to do is this is actually going to compress up just like this. And then you have large tabs right here that go to large slots right there. So you're going to line all that up, give that a push, and then your last step is to just bring these flanks down. So you have a tab here and a peg that's going to correspond to a slot and a port. Bring those down, line those up, give them a squeeze. Do the same thing on the other side over here. So tab, peg, slot, port. Squeeze all that together and make sure you get everything lined up. Give him one good final squeeze everywhere. And if you are so inclined, go ahead and open his little Rhino mouth a little bit. And there you have Rhinox in his beast mode. Now that we have him in his beast mode, I figured I would go ahead and throw him on that turntable so we could get a nice unobstructed view, 360 degrees around Rhinox in his alt mode or beast mode. I think it looks pretty good. It does not look like what we see in the Rise of the Beast movie. As I mentioned, I think this is more War for Cybertron Kingdom, but I still like it. I think he looks good for what he is. Some nice mechanical details in there, along with those organic details like that rhino hide. But yeah, give him a couple times around here so you can get a nice 360, take a nice look at him from the underside while he's resting on that turntable, and then we'll bring him in for his close-up. Okay, the turntable's out of the way, so let's go ahead and bring Rhinox in and take a look at everything that he has to offer in this mode. So there is that horn that we talked about earlier. I think it looks pretty nice. With the rest of him, it's a little different color than anything else that we see on there except for his toes, but it's good. It just looks really cool. I must say I do like it very much. Coming over here to his face, love the mechanical detail and the silver paint with those green eyes, and if you look closely, he's even got little pupils. So that's pretty cool. And then let's open the mouth while we're here. He does have some rhino teeth, so if you want to get excited about that, feel free to do so. He's got some ridges on his tongue, so very cool. And taking a look at those rhino arms, which we've already seen all the detail just in the other mode, but nice big broad shoulders. And then come over here to those flanks, which are also his legs. Looks pretty good. And then you've got the little rhino feet with some good mechanical detail in there. Maybe a little splash of paint would have been nice there, but I like it anyway. And coming around to the back, there's the Rhino butt. He's got his little Rhino tail right there. I think, yeah, I think it works. I like it. And coming back over to the side, just like the other side, I think he looks pretty cool. I do very much like him. There he is from the top, and here he is from the bottom. So nothing glaring, nothing obvious. This is why we turn the head around. Otherwise, he would have visible face syndrome in that tucked away under there in his throat. But yeah, I think he looks pretty good. Now, as far as the articulation in this mode, there's not a lot you're going to do with this guy. He's basically just a big old lumbering tank. But you can open that mouth up that far if you choose to do so. And then you do have some range of motion in these front arms, so you can take them forward about that far, take them back about that far. And then if you want to bring them out, you can get even more range of motion there. And you can make him, you know, the incredible flying Rhino. That right there reminds me of Ninja Turtles. Just saying it, it just hit me. This reminds me of Ninja Turtles. Anyway, yeah, flying Rhino, if you want to do that. And then back here on the little back feet, you can go backward that far, you can go forward till they disappear, basically, if you want. I guess, like he's sitting down. Oh, let me tell you a story. I don't know. So, oh, no, I'm stuck in there. All right, let's pull them up. Yeah, so that pretty much covers the articulation. You can, yeah, you can't really do anything there. I mean, if you wanted, you could pull these out and you could do this, like, you know, he's like a bulldog Rhino, something like that. So up to you. But yeah, I mean, he's kind of limited. Like I said, he's just a big tank in this mode. But I think he looks pretty good, and he gets the job done. So now that we've covered the articulation, let's go ahead and just talk about those accessories. So again, not really anything groundbreaking here. You're going to use these pegs right here on either side and plug them in his shoulders. So you can plug them in so they're facing forward like this, which is pretty cool, you know, get some spinny action. Or if you wanted him to, I don't know, be a helicopter, you can get some spinning action that way too. But yeah, there you go. That's pretty much what you're going to do with them. There's really nowhere else to plug them in, nowhere else to store them. It's just going to be that right there, which is cool. I would not want a big Rhino charging me at 30 miles per hour with big murder wheels spinning on his shoulders either. So yeah, I think that's pretty intimidating. I like it. All right, so now that we've got all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the comparisons and see how his beast mode looks compared to some other figures out there. So I unfortunately do not have a G1 Rhinox in my collection, so as a substitution, here we see him next to a G1 Rat Trap. So this is the 2021 re-release of that original G1 Rat Trap mold. Moving on to our next comparison, here we see him with that War for Cybertron Kingdom Optimus Primal. Here he is hanging out with his wave mate. This is that Voyager-Class, not Studio Series, Rise of the Beast Optimus Prime figure. For our next comparison, here we see him hanging out with a Studio Series Voyager-Class figure from that Rise of the Beast movie. This is the Voyager-Class Cheetor. And for our final comparison, here we see that Rise of the Beast Voyager Rhinox with the Kingdom War for Cybertron Rhinox, and you can see all those similarities there. These guys are not exactly the same, but they do share a lot of the same engineering, similar transformation, size, that kind of stuff. So as I stated earlier, this guy is way more closely related to the Kingdom Rhinox than I think he's going to be to the Studio Series Rise of the Beast Rhinox that we're eventually going to have. That's it for the alt mode comparisons. Let's get Rhinox transformed back into his bot mode, and we'll do some comparisons there. So to get Rhinox transformed back to his bot mode, the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take these flanks on either side and just open those up. So just stick your thumb in there, give those a pull, and swing those up just like that. Do that on both sides. And then you're going to come up here and you're just going to pull this down, and you're going to disconnect these large tabs right in there. So just give that a pull, and then you've got that disconnected, and then you can stretch his legs out, get everything all stretched out like that. All right, and once you have that, now you can just pull the legs apart, give them a pry, give them a pry. You've got them pulled apart, And now you can tackle each one individually. So doesn't matter which leg you start with, but I'm going to start with this leg right here. You're just going to take that little Rhino foot, and if I get the bot foot out of the way for a second, you've got that tab right there, and you've got this large slot, or sorry, that tab right there, and then that large slot right there. You're just going to push that up till you feel a click, and then you're going to turn them around right here. You have a slot, you have a tab, you got this double hinge down here, so you're going to rotate this around until you line those up, and then you're going to push that in just like that. Come down here to the foot, bring the foot down, extend that toe so it's like that, and then you're going to close up this leg. So before you close up the leg, you've got this little tab right here, and you've got that slot. You need to make sure that those are spread out. Make sure they're spread out, I said. There we go. All right, so make sure that it's aligned like that. So when you close this panel up, that's going to tab in right there. So close that up. All right, you should have something that looks like that. And now you're going to rotate 180 degrees on that knee. And then come over here and do the same thing on this leg. So take that foot, slide that foot up, get that click right there, turn it over, tab and slot right there, push that in, bring that foot down, lift that toe up, make sure that your tab and your slot are aligned right there, close that up, and then rotate 180 degrees, and then rotate the waist 180, and then you have the lower half complete. Sorry for that edit, but now you have the bottom half done, and you're going to go up here, come up here and take care of this upper half. So I'm going to open this arm up a little bit just so you can see what we're working with. So you want to take this section right here and rotate that 90 degrees. So basically it's filling in this gap right here. And there's not really an easy way to do it. You just got to kind of get in there and find the right angle, give it a push, and try to spin that around. So just depending on the best way to where you can grab it, just find the best way you can. And then once you have that loose, because it's just on there in a little bit of a clip, when you bring that around, you're going to feel a soft click here as well. And then you've got it locked into place. And then you can just swing this arm forward like that, and then take this forearm and rotate it 90 degrees and swing the fist out, and then you've got one shoulder completed. And then do the same thing over here. So we're just going to lift that out of the way so you can see what we're doing. And then do your best to get in there and rotate that 90 degrees. Just like that. And push it until you get a click. There we go. And then swing those up. Rotate 90 degrees and pull that hand out. And then you've got two arms done. So now you just have to take care of that rhino head. So just give this a pull. Get that out of your way, and then you've got this section right here. You're going to want to fold that section up underneath the neck and then bring that down as such, and it's going to rest right there. And then you're going to take his head and turn his head around and then pose him in some heroic pose, and there you have Rhinox back in his bot mode. For our first bot mode comparison, here we see that Rise of the Beast Rhinox next to the G1 Rat Trap. This is the 2021 reissue of that G1 mold. Next up is the Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom Optimus Primal. Moving on to our next comparison, this is the Voyager-Class, not Studio Series, Optimus Prime from that Rise of the Beast movie. For our next comparison, this is a Studio Series figure. This is the Voyager-Class Studio Series Cheetor from Rise of the Beasts. And last but certainly not least, this is the War for Cybertron Kingdom Rhinox. So you can see just how similar these two guys are, and how much was borrowed from this figure and carried over to this figure. That's it for the bot mode comparisons, so let's go ahead and get into those final thoughts. So there we have the Transformers Rise of the Beast Voyager-Class, not Studio Series, Rhinox. And yeah, he's a pretty good figure for what he is. This is not the Studio Series release for Rhinox, so we've got to kind of limit our expectations here. But he is really overall a pretty good figure and quite a bit of fun. So let's go ahead and jump into it real quick, and we'll talk about the overall looks of the figure, the aesthetic here. He's good. He's fun, and he looks good in both of his modes, and he's fun to play with. The bot mode looks good. I think the Rhino mode looks really good as well. I really do like what they've done with the paint applications and the mechanical details, especially in his beast mode, of course. He could have used a little bit more paint here and there, but for the most part, I think that they nailed it for this price point. I think that really about the only thing that you could have really done to make him a little bit better would have been maybe a slightly more realistic beast, but then we would miss all the fun on those mechanical details. So I'm not going to beat him up too bad for it. I think for this price point for the Voyager class, he's pretty good. So I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 for overall looks. Moving on to the articulation. Almost everywhere the articulation is really well done for a figure, especially a figure as beefy as this Rhinox. You get a lot of range of motion in a lot of areas. Unfortunately, you don't get much in that head. That head is just going to rotate around an axis 360 degrees. You're not going to get any up, down, or any quizzical side to side out of that. So whatever he's battling, he's going to have to battle head on. He can't look up at it. He can't look down at it. Additionally, he could have used a little bit more range in those feet. The ankle tilt is fine, but the foot up, foot down would have been helpful. You do have those toes that you can play with a little bit, but they're not exactly weight supporting. So you're just going to have to work around those. Everywhere else is really good. Great range in those legs and in the hips, no doubt about it. I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 on articulation. So going on to the next, which is the accessories. I think the accessories here are above average. These are nothing we haven't already seen with the Kingdom Rhinox, but these are definitely better than the ones that the Kingdom Rhinox came with. They've got really cool paint applications on them, nice attention to detail. They spin really easily. That's always fun. And you can do a couple of different things with these than what you could with that Kingdom Rhinox. So you could have him holding them like this, or even in Rhino mode, you could plug them into his shoulders and have him use them there. So I do like them very much. Now, there's no blast effect compatibility with them. There is with the figure. So you've got those ports on his feet. You've got the ports right up here that you can do some stuff with, just not on these murder saws. Do you have anything that you can use? Additionally, although I'm keeping the horn on the Rhino head, you can take that horn off and he can hold it, he can put it on his shoulder, whatever you want to do with that, kind of give him a Mandalorian style kind of thing. So that's really cool. I do very much like that, and I think the horn looks really good as well. So I'm going to give him a little bit of credit where it's due there as far as that goes. So I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 for accessories. Moving on to quality. Overall quality is done really well here. Really my biggest complaint is that the shoulder joints, the actual joints right here that hold the arms up if they're outstretched, is a little loose. They'll hold his weight, the weight of his arms, but barely. I mean, if you put a few extra grams on there, like if you were to put some slightly heavier weapons in his hands, they're going to flop down. So not in the rotational range, but just swinging up from the hips and out is what I'm talking about there. So this is a pose that he can hold easily, but if he had those arms out like he was flapping them, they would be a little loose and he probably wouldn't be able to hold this pose. Everywhere else is really done really well. I don't have any issues with paint. I don't have any issues with the molding or anything like that. Everything transforms the way that it should. He came with everything that he was supposed to, so overall quality is good except for those shoulders. I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10. So that brings us to our last bullet, which is overall value. You know, I can't say it enough. This is not the Studio Series figure. I can almost guarantee you when the Studio Series Rhinox comes out, it's going to be the exact same price as this one. So you got to kind of take that with the grain of salt and recognize that this is just going to be his own independent guy here. But I am going to say that the Voyager class price point is just like everything else is creeping up. I picked this guy up at a local Walmart here in North America for $35 US. I think that's getting pretty salty for what you get. $35 for this figure. Oh man, I don't know. You know, I think he's a $30 figure. I don't think he's a $35 figure, but I still think that he's fun. So the MSRP is the MSRP. There's simply nothing we can do about that. I wouldn't pay more than an MSRP for this figure for sure. I'm still glad I picked him up, but I'm not going to give him the highest score for value here. I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. So that brings us to our grand total out of a possible 50 points. The Rise of the Beasts, not Studio Series Rhinox, gets 40 out of 50, which puts him at 80%. He is good for what he is. I'm not necessarily going to recommend him and tell you that you need to go out and get this figure. But I think if you missed the boat on the War for Cybertron Rhinox, I think this guy's a pretty worthy replacement. And if you just like these figures, he's a fun one to grab. I mean, he's fun to transform. It's fairly intuitive and easy. The quality is high. He's got a pretty decent shelf presence. I like his beast mode. There are very few things for me to complain about on this figure, except simply for the fact that this is not the Rise of the Beasts Rhinox. This is his own figure. So take that for what you will. So with that, that's going to wrap up the review. I hope you guys got some good information out of this. I hope you found some entertainment. And if you haven't already done so, please be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Leave a comment if you feel like it. I really do try to answer them whenever I can. Life gets busy. And, of course, one last favor to ask. If you know of anyone who would like this channel, we would really appreciate it if you would share this channel, share this video, spread the gospel, and just help us make the channel grow. It's always fun to talk to new people and see all that activity. So with that, I'm just going to wrap it up. Until we see you guys in the next review, take care.